I think the first thing that should change with social media from a company perspective is the name. Social media is actually something you wouldn't expect to be doing at a company. You shouldn't be social, you should be working, you shouldn't have time for that. Well, in actuality, social media is something, as I'm going to describe to you, that needs to be part of everyone's job every day. And with that thought, let me just ask one question. If I were to define social media as logging into a LinkedIn account and reviewing a group, you're a member of a group, or logging into a logging into a Twitter account and reviewing people that you're following. If you were to do that on a daily basis, that's my definition for social media. How many of you actually do that every day? Good. That's a little bit more than I was expecting, actually. So this week has been quite interesting. The week's been all about change. Change from the perspective of evaluating new technologies and making process improvements, manufacturing improvements of the like. And the question becomes, how do we change in order to facilitate the changes that we're trying to accomplish around us? And I like the adage that there are three types of people. There are the people that make things happen, there are people that watch things that happen, and then there are the people, of course, that wondered what happened. You're all here, so you're the first category. You're here to learn and try and make things happen. And social media, as I'm going to describe, will become a very strong tool in implementing that kind of change. Last year, we talked a lot about the definition of social media and what it is. And this week, I've been chatting with a lot of folks, asking them what they've accomplished in the past year. What have you done with social media, and how has it changed your life, and how has it improved you personally? And got a lot of responses. A bunch of them were in the category of, yeah, I tried it and it got annoying and I don't do it very much. Some others said they don't have the time for it. It was pretty common to say, yeah, we made a lot of changes. I assigned it to someone. You know, that maybe not the best practice. We hired an expert, or we added it into our review process. So I talked to my employees during a review and evaluate what kind of success they're having in social media. These are all tactics, perhaps, but no strategy. And John might even talk a little bit about strategy and tactics with social media. If you were to evaluate some of the most important changes to make, employee goals for 2013 in a survey highlighted professional development and learning new skills as the number one thing that they'd like to accomplish. Now that's a pretty important goal, and social media has become probably the best tool to achieve that goal on an ongoing basis. If you want to learn, what do you typically do? Well, you make time to read something. You make time to go back to school, do some continuing education. But if you could dribble knowledge on a daily basis, learn from that, attach to streams that are relevant to the different businesses that you're in, then you're tapping into something that would be continuous improvement on a daily basis. And that's where I want to go with my talk today. Social media isn't about marketing. Yes, it's used for marketing, and marketing departments happen to be pretty involved with social media, but social media is about continuous education. It's about a continuous learning. And that's a new view that everyone needs to be taking with social media. So if you answered in the area of, I didn't see a lot of benefit in it, then basically you were doing it wrong. Social media is all about value. It's about identifying people that you want to connect to because you know that they're going to deliver value. If you're connecting to a technologist, you know that they're going to keep you up to date with the things that they find interesting concerning technology. If you're going to follow a particular company, then you're going to get news releases perhaps for products that you own or products that you're using. If you want to follow standards bodies or follow research companies like ARC, we'll provide you with domain expertise in the things that you're particularly interested in. The key is to make sure that you're following the right people. You want to tune the people that you're connected with so that they develop and deliver the relevant information that you're interested in. And most of the people who stumbled into social media did it by connecting to their friends, because friends are very safe people to connect to. They connected to a variety of things with one stream. You might have one Twitter account and you're following a whole diverse set of people. Well, you're generating a lot of noise in that data stream. And in an ideal way to leverage social media would be to set up individual accounts and follow individual sets of people that are domain experts. But we'll get into that a little bit more. If somebody's telling you about their cups of coffee or sending links out for stupid pet tricks, that's probably not somebody you should have in your feed because they're generating noise. So social media breaks up into 3 areas of value. The first is sales and marketing, certainly, and that's what everyone has jumped on, thinking it's a way to generate new leads. It's a good thing to do. I'm not going to talk about that today. The second thing is just being social. There's a lot of value in being social because you're nurturing relationships, and those relationships can be important in the future if you have questions to ask. So that's a very important part of social media. But again, let's put that one aside. The most important aspect of social media, in my view, is the fact that you can connect to domains of expertise and you can facilitate continuous learning. And that's something I think that every company needs to be very aware of, to the point where you're recommending which feeds your employees connect to. If you want them to have continuous learning on technology, on standards, on laws, on best practices, don't let them have to go through the trouble of trying to find these feeds on their own. Give them lists of feeds. Suggest people that they follow. It's a very important tool, and it needs to be part of every job. If you were to go back to school, this was a question from another survey, what would be the most valuable course for you to take for continuous improvement on the job? And the number one answer was social media training. Again, highlighting the fact that social media should become part of your everyday life, and you need to define how you want to do that. Now, it's interesting, people say they don't have time for social media. But, you know, the iPhones, cell phones, Blackberries, all kinds of smartphones coming out is making communications ubiquitous, making internet available to everybody all the time for either long or short periods of time, which is kind of interesting. It's known that employee productivity goes up when employees have short breaks. Well, short breaks combined with cell phone technology or mobile device technology means that you can be dealing with continuous learning throughout your day, and that opportunity for continuous learning becomes the short break that you take. So some interesting thoughts here. Social media is something that you should be doing during the day and within the corporate environment, not afterwards, not on your own time. And there are other benefits by doing it, not just the learning, but the fact that you can be using social media as a form of a break. The value of social media is likely to become resume value if it isn't already in some of your jobs. That means as people evaluate you, they're not just going to be evaluating what you know. It used to be that the value in your head was why someone would hire you, or the skill that you had was why someone would hire you. Going forward, that's going to change drastically. People will be evaluating not only what you know, but they're going to be evaluating who you know, what you connect to. You can look at someone's LinkedIn account and understand the groups that they belong to, the domains that they follow. It's very important stuff in evaluating people nowadays. I'll show you an interesting tool in a moment that highlights that even further. There are different social media tools for different uses. The earliest form of social media, you could say, is just messaging using email. That's dropping by the wayside now. And the two primary forms of social media that we all need to be aware of are LinkedIn and Twitter. And they're different because LinkedIn is something that allows you to join groups of domain experts. LinkedIn groups are a very powerful tool. I'm sure you're aware of them and using them for the most part. Groups can be open, groups can be closed. Closed meaning that you can have by invitation only groups. Groups become great ways to connect with lead users and customers in your customer base. So if you're interested in connecting to a group of customers and using them as an extension of product marketing, LinkedIn's a wonderful tool for that. There are domain experts that like to share their knowledge within LinkedIn groups. Those groups can be open, anybody can join. The key is you can join a group and be connected to thousands of domain experts in a certain area. Twitter, on the other hand, is more of a many-to-one connection where I can take the streams of information from individuals that I respect or companies that have Twitter accounts, and I can direct all of that information into one place for my continuous learning. There are a lot of other benefits associated with social media, like creating your own set of followers. But on day one, when you set up an account, you get these benefits: the ability to join groups and access that knowledge that's within a group, or the ability to begin following folks and tapping into that stream of knowledge. And again, an extremely important form of continuing education. Of course, there's Facebook, and we get lots of questions about whether Facebook fits into our market or not. I personally view Facebook as a personal social media type of tool, that it's good for keeping touch with friends. It's good for business to consumer type opportunities, but business to business and continuous learning tends to be applied much more to a LinkedIn type scenario or a Twitter feed. I get asked questions about social media in terms of, is it a fad? Is it going away? Do I really have to deal with it now? John DePietro is going to give a talk after mine where he's going to highlight a very interesting answer to that question about, do I need to do it now or should I wait? In the speed at which change is happening. But the bottom line is, this train has left the station. It is extremely widespread, moving quickly, and if you're not using it, you have missed the boat, and you need to catch up and do your best to turn this into a tool that's accelerating your abilities as opposed to accelerating your competitors' abilities. So look at the two tools. LinkedIn. Some of the statistics are pretty amazing. 200 million users on LinkedIn. There are over 1 million groups. Groups tend to be very domain specific, specific to a particular area, interest, and so on. Revenues are very high, $252 million in revenues. LinkedIn just hasn't been around all that long, but it's already valued at $1.5 billion. And the connectivity that LinkedIn gives you is one-to-many, where you can create an account, join a group, and you're now connected to thousands of people that are like-minded or have the same interest or are asking similar questions than you are. Now, Twitter is a much more real-time product. Somebody tweets, that message shows up in your list. There are 465 million Twitter accounts currently, and the use is amazing. 140 million people are using Twitter on a daily basis. It's the opportunity for you to connect to virtually anyone. So if you have a particular interest, if you want to follow a scientist at a university, they're likely to be out there tweeting interesting information. You can track that person down and you can connect to them individually. It's an amazing level of connection that you can have with others in the world, and streams of information that can be making you more competitive. So Twitter is what I like to call a many-to-one type of connection. So the two products are very different. They have excellent uses, and this is the difference between them. Connecting to streams could be as important as connecting to an ARC research stream or a domain stream from a university or a domain stream from a company. You choose. But at some point, you'll probably be measured on the types of streams that you have feeding into your opportunity for continuous learning. Something else amazing about Twitter, I'm not sure how many of you do this, But when you tweet, or when you follow certain news events, current events, there are people tweeting about those current events. You can use hashtags to search out the people that are part of something going on, and you can become part of that group in terms of understanding what's happening. Yesterday we were talking about the cruise ship that's disabled and being towed back into port. You do a hashtag cruise ship, and you get people that are family members of the cruise ship people. You get people on the ship tweeting. You can be tied right into those conversations as they're live. It's an amazing opportunity. So how do you take the next step? With LinkedIn, you want to create an account. You don't have to go and invite a bunch of people to be friends of yours. Just create an account and then start looking at the groups that are available to you. Join a group, learn from the groups, perhaps engage. It's up to you as to what level of engagement you'd like. A lot of people complain about the number of emails they get from a LinkedIn account. Every time there's a new message in a group, you get an email address sent to you. You can shut that off. You can set it up so you just see the groups when you go into the groups, so the annoyance factor isn't there. It's a bit of an education that's required to use these tools, but it's certainly worth doing. In the case of Twitter, same thing. You don't have to tweet. You don't have to learn how to do this and build a following for what you do. Use it as a tool to connect to other people and just learn from them. That's the most powerful use of Twitter, and that's something that everybody here should be doing. Some great tools available. If you do have a lot of connections on LinkedIn, this happens to be my LinkedIn account, there's a new tool available through LinkedIn that allows you to create a social graph, a picture of all the people that you have within your area. You see different colors for the different companies I've worked at in the past or been involved with in the past. And it provides a social graph of all of the people I'm connected to and the connections between those people. Is Walt Boys in here? No? Okay, well, I'm going to pick on him momentarily because I decided to see how many people Walt Boys, an editor, and I have in common. So I highlighted them in my social graph, and it showed all the people that Walt is connected to that I also happen to know. Interesting analysis that can be done, and it wouldn't surprise me if 6 months to a year from now, this is something that an HR department does in evaluating employees. Doing it right now. Thank you, John. When it comes to Twitter or any kind of social media and you decide to step in and post something, it's something that for the first time might make you a little bit nervous. You're not sure what's going to happen. And this was an interesting statistic that I came across, which is the half-life of a social media post. So when you post something, people may read it, they might not, depends on how many you're connected to. But the half-life is how many people click on it, or the number of clicks, time till the clicks reach half the clicks you'll ever get on a particular social media post. And it's on the order of 3 hours. So the pain goes away if you happen to say something stupid. It's not the end of the world. So the pain goes away quickly. YouTube tends to last a little bit longer, but understand that everybody makes mistakes and don't worry about it. You learn a lot about staying sharp as you get older, mind games, doing puzzles. There's a lot of discussion about how to keep working the brain and just improving your cognitive abilities as time goes on. Well, there was another interesting study that correlates density of brain matter with number of Facebook friends that you have. And there seems to be a connection, the fact that if you're on Facebook and you're using your brain and looking at accounts and people that are on Facebook, you know, that is using your brain. That is the opportunity to learn and exercise yourself. Just happens to be based on social media. So I'm sure we're going to see more studies about this going forward. And the final point I'd like to make, and this is something that John's going to be highlighting even more, is that there is no end to this tunnel. The light that you see at the end of the tunnel is just the next wave of technology coming. And